Once upon a time, a group of college students, Allison, Chad, Chloe, Chuck, Jason, Naomi, Todd, Mitch, and Mike, set out on a camping trip in the woods of West Virginia. They were excited to spend a few days together under the stars, cooking over a fire and sharing stories. On the way, they stopped at a small gas station, where they met two friendly, if a little awkward, hillbillies named Tucker and Dale. These two had just bought an old, abandoned cabin by a lake deep in the woods. Tucker, who always liked to give advice, told Dale to go say hello to Allison. But when Dale, nervous and unsure, tried to talk to her, his rough appearance and timid manner frightened Allison. The college kids were already a bit jumpy from their long journey, and soon they began to worry about these strange men. While Tucker and Dale were busy fixing up their cabin, Chad gathered the group around and began to tell a spooky story. He spoke of the Memorial Day Massacre, a terrible hillbilly attack that had happened 20 years before. The story sent shivers down everyone's spine and made the day feel even more eerie. Later that day, the group decided to cool off by going skinny dipping at a nearby lake. As they splashed around, Tucker and Dale were fishing along the shore. Suddenly, Allison got startled by the sight of the two hillbillies near the water. In her shock, she bumped her head and almost went under the water. Tucker and Dale quickly jumped in to save her, pulling her back to safety. However, the rest of the group, seeing all this from a distance, misunderstood the scene. They believed that Tucker and Dale were kidnapping her, and they ran off in a panic. The very next morning, Allison woke up in the cabin of Tucker and Dale. At first, she was very frightened, not knowing how she had ended up there. But as the hours passed, she began to see that Tucker and Dale were nothing like the monsters her friends had imagined. They were kind and simple people who had only wanted to help. Slowly, Allison and the hillbillies became friends. Back at the college camp, meanwhile, Chuck decided to run off to get the police, and Chad led the others to the cabin to rescue Allison. Just as they arrived, a series of strange accidents unfolded. Tucker, while chopping wood, accidentally struck a beehive. The angry bees sent him into a wild panic, causing him to swing his chainsaw wildly. The college students, already terrified, thought Tucker was attacking them and scattered in all directions. In the chaos, poor Mitch tripped over a fallen tree branch and was fatally impaled. When the group found Mitch's lifeless body, they were convinced that the hillbillies had murdered him. Chad, feeling protective and angry, convinced everyone that they now had to fight for their lives. The frightened students returned to the cabin, where they saw Allison and Dale outside digging what they assumed was a grave. In their panic, the students attacked, believing that Allison was digging her own grave. During the scuffle, Todd accidentally impaled himself on a spear he had brought along. Mike, in an attempt to tackle Tucker, dived into a wood chipper, and Allison was knocked out by the blunt blow of Dale's shovel. In the middle of the confusion, Dale, worried for Allison, picked her up and brought her inside the cabin. Tucker, confused by the chaos, thought the group of college kids were planning to commit suicide together and warned Dale not to call the police. He was afraid that if the police came, Tucker and Dale would be blamed for all the deaths. Soon after, Chuck returned with Sheriff Gurr. The sheriff listened to Tucker and Dale's explanation, but he doubted their story. In a tragic accident, as he examined the scene, a loose beam fell and accidentally killed the sheriff. Chuck, trying to take control of the situation, grabbed the sheriff's gun but then accidentally shot himself. Then, things got even stranger. Chad reappeared, taking Tucker and Dale's dog, Jangers, hostage. Tucker bravely rescued his dog, but in doing so, he was captured by Chad. In a terrible turn of events, Chad tortured Tucker and even cut off 2 of his fingers, trying to force him to reveal where his partner Dale was hiding. Fearing for Tucker, Dale rushed out to rescue him. At the same time, Chad and another student, Naomi, tried to force Allison to tell them what had really happened. Allison tried to explain, but they accused her of having Stockholm Syndrome, saying she was so attached to her captors that she might even like them. Soon after, Tucker and Dale returned, and Allison gathered everyone together for a calm discussion. It was then that Chad revealed a shocking secret. His grandmother had once told him that his father had died during the infamous Memorial Day massacre, and his mother was the only survivor. This revelation added to the confusion and fear among the group. As if that wasn't enough, Jason and Chloe suddenly broke in, determined to save Allison. But as they did, a fire broke out in the cabin. In the frantic chaos that followed, Tucker, Dale, and Allison managed to escape the burning cabin. Tragically, Naomi, Chloe, and Jason lost their lives in the fire. Chad was badly injured and became mentally unstable from the ordeal. Desperate to flee, the surviving trio, Tucker, Dale, and Allison, tried to escape in the truck that Tucker and Dale had, but the truck crashed, throwing everyone into more danger. An injured Tucker managed to tell Dale that Chad had taken Allison to an old, abandoned sawmill. At the sawmill, Chad, now twisted by his own madness, threatened to kill Allison unless she agreed to be his girlfriend. A demand so outrageous that it chilled everyone to the bone. Just when it seemed Allison might be lost forever, Dale arrived in time to rescue her from Chad's clutches. The two of them barricaded themselves upstairs in the sawmill, hoping to wait out the danger. There, they found old newspaper clippings that revealed a disturbing truth. Chad's father had been one of the hillbillies involved in the Memorial Day massacre. When Chad heard this, he was momentarily distracted. Seizing the chance, Dale grabbed a box of chamomile tea and threw it at him. The tea hit Chad so hard that he had a severe asthma attack, and in a final, shocking moment, he fell out of a window to his apparent death. 3 days later, the police and a news crew arrived at the cabin. They pieced together the scene, and many concluded that the deaths might have been part of a suicide pact or the work of a deranged killer, Chad, they assumed. But then, in a twist, it was revealed that Chad had somehow survived and went on to kill the news crew that came to investigate. In another part of town, Tucker was taken to a hospital to recover from his injuries. There, he slowly began to heal. Meanwhile, Dale and Allison found a moment of peace when they went bowling together. At the bowling alley, Dale even encouraged a fellow hillbilly to talk to some girls, which led to a funny misunderstanding. Finally, in the warm glow of friendship and relief, Dale and Allison confessed their true feelings for each other and shared a heartfelt kiss. And so, the wild, twisted adventure of that camping trip came to an end. A story filled with strange miscommunications, terrible accidents, and shocking revelations. Through all the chaos and heartbreak, a glimmer of hope shone in the form of unexpected love and the bond that grew between Dale and Allison. Their story reminds us that even in the most confusing and scary times, love and understanding can blossom, lighting a path out of darkness. Now, as you close your eyes and drift off to sleep, remember that sometimes, even when things seem utterly chaotic, kindness and love can find a way to heal all wounds. Good night, my little one, and may your dreams be filled with hope and gentle laughter.